What's going on, 49er faithful, 49er fam, 49er gang? This is your boy Niner Gang Podcast back in the building. So definitely hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, turn on the post notifications so I can keep you up to date on the NFL playoffs. And with that being said, let's get right on into it, baby. This was a weekend of pleasant surprises. Um, in my next video, when I talk about the NFC, you'll see exactly why I'm pleasantly surprised. But this first game of the weekend was definitely a shocker to me. Shout out to the Houston Texans, shout out to the state of Texas, and shout out to the city of Houston. Y'all got some winners. You got some winners, man. I didn't anticipate that. I honestly thought that the Browns defense was just a little too strong. I thought that Browns defense was ready to go. Good morning, Mom. I thought that this game was pretty much over. I thought it was a wrap. I was like, okay, cool. It's nice that everything kind of works out, you know what I'm saying? But it is what it is. What's going on, Manly Shavers? So man, was I wrong? I have the fortunate thing of being able. What's going on, Dave? Yeah, D'Amico Ryans, man, that what he's done in such a short span of time with that team, that squad, it is flat out amazing. What I do want you guys to understand is there's some people that we're gonna be talking about in this game that need to continue to make it happen. There's some guys that we may or may not talk about, but the Texas, what's going on, throwback? The Texas defense is for real, and they are not playing. Okay, so I mean, you could take a look at it and see it for what it is. Basically, Houston scored in every quarter. Now I'm gonna stop y'all right here. This quarter here, third quarter. What I want y'all to see is these 14 points were scored by the defense, not the offense. So Houston had a great first half, and they had an all right second half. Basically everything that CJ Stroud did, honestly, was in the first half. Now, I want y'all to take that with a grain of salt. The reason being is because a lot of the times what will happen is people, hey, yeah, my simulation, yo, if y'all ain't checked out my Madden Sims, please go back and watch them, bro. My simulations were on fire yesterday, man. And I ran them bitches back to back. I don't have it to a point where like Breezy has it, where he has himself in like the corner and all that, and he's narrating it. But it's been fun to run these simulations, man, and I've just been running them for every game that's being played, trying to make sure I get them out before the games come on, obviously. But it's been fantastic being able to do that and figuring that out. But basically, Houston was a first half team, and that's what I saw a lot throughout the playoffs this weekend. First half teams, and then second half, teams start to like basically almost all but disappear. Like these defenses are figuring things out, and they make it harder. So once again, just remember the fact that the Texans scored in every quarter. Third quarter, they didn't score. That was the defense. Now, mind you, hey, you could take a step back and let your defense do its thing. I'm not mad at that. I'm just saying that that's something to honestly take a look at, because if you take away those 14 points in the fourth quarter and you only have that one score those 14 points in the third and that one score in the seventh, this is a closer game. And it could become a little bit, a little more daunting. But one thing that I did notice was, I had a little faith in him, man. But old man Flacco, I'm sorry, that's what it is. You're old. You are old, man. It was bad. Flacco did not have it this game. He was not on point. That Texas defense is to be respected, people. I don't care what no one says, man. When you throw two pick sixes in a row, it deflates everything inside of you. You don't even want to go out there and play anymore. You basically feel like anytime I throw the ball, it's going to be a wrap. Somebody taking it to the house. So, with that being said, man, let's go over these numbers. Joe Flacco, 34-46, 307 yards, 1 TD, 2 interceptions. Both of his interceptions were taken back to the house. He was sacked 4 times. I'm telling you that Texas defense is not a game. Look at this as a whole. 56 total yards for the Texans. That is flat out insanity. Like, 56 total yards for the Browns. That's flat out insanity. And that's between three different people. That's ridiculous. They averaged 2.8 yards a carry, which is horrible. Texans defense, shout out to y'all. Y'all balled. When it came down to receiving, all these receivers were irrelevant. All these guys. Njoku, 7 catches, 93 yards, no touchdown. Harrison Bryant, 4 for 65, no touchdown. Amari Cooper, 4 for 59, no touchdowns. David Bell, 8 for 54, no touchdowns. Like that, it's showing you the only person who caught a pass for a touchdown was Kareem Hunt, and he had 5 catches for 9 yards, and that averaged 1.8 yards a catch. That's bad. That's really bad. You see what I'm saying? So that tells you that Texans defense is real. You look over here for them on the defensive side of the ball for the Cleveland Browns, no sacks at all the whole game, and that's not normal for them. They had 5 tackles for a loss, which is nice. 4 of them came from Owosu JOK. Basically, he had those on his own himself. You know what I'm saying? He was a one-man wrecking crew, led the team in tackles with 9 tackles and whatnot. And then everybody else, it just seemed like didn't know what to do. You know, Cleveland had no interceptions. They didn't have any kick returns. Like, just looking at the scores and numbers, everything is all bad. So then you go ahead and you look at the Texans. Once again, C.J. Stroud, 16-21, 274 yards, 3 TDs, didn't take a sack, 98.4 QBR, 157.2 rating. That is flat out amazing. That is great. Then you go down Devin Singletary, 13 carries, 66 yards. Hey, the man had 5.1 yards per carry, and he had his touchdown. And then, you know, they only got to 76 yards. So these run defenses were very stout to keep both teams, you know, under 100 yards. Now, the Texans did have 20 more yards than what Cleveland had, but it is what it is. Then you look at it right here. It's the catching. 6 catches for 96 yards on 7 targets for Nico Collins. Brevin Jordan, 1 catch for 76 yards. He took that bitch to the house. John Mechie, 3 for 44. Dalton Schultz, 1 catch, 37 yards, but he was a TD. And one thing you got to remember, people, is the one thing that you'll keep a close eye on is the fact that though these people are, you know, it's 1 catch. If that 1 catch is a touchdown, I can give 2 shits. I don't need gaudy ass stats. I need to score. So I can tell you right now, I'd rather average 1 yard a carry and have 13 touchdowns in the season than average 7 yards a carry and only have 4. I mean, at the end of the day, the touchdowns are what you want. That's what you're thinking about. But yeah, man, and all of this, once again, a good majority of this was done in the first half. So, you know, that's one thing for the Texans to think about coming out of this game is to be, you know, a full 4-quarter team. Now, once again, I'm not knocking them for the 3rd quarter because it is nice when your defense does that and you don't really have to be out there to try to, you know, go out there and score. I'll give you that much. It's definitely very nice for you to be able to do so. But you do have to, you know, make sure you're mindful of that. I'm sure D'Amico will take a look at the film. They're celebrating, but they'll take a look at the film and go, okay, we were a first-half team here. We cannot just be a first-half team. We need to be a 4-quarter team and put points up in every quarter on offense. Once again, shout out to the Texans, bro. Y'all did y'all motherfucking thing, boy. Y'all beat the brakes off the Browns. And I definitely didn't anticipate this, but look at the Browns. Once again, they were a first-half team. They showed up in the first half. And, you know, scored twice and tried to keep the games close they could. Then 3rd and 4th quarter, they just forgot how to score. Flat out crazy what happened to them, man. But that's just, you know, once again, that is the Texans defense doing what they do, being as great as they are. Desmond King had 12 tackles. Blake Cashman had 10. Christian Harris had 8. DeAndre Houston had 6. You just keep running down the list. And then, you know, you got Christian Harris with the sack. You got Hennish with a sack. You got Will Anderson Jr. with a sack. You got Derek Barnett that had a sack. They had 11 tackles for a loss. You see what I'm saying? They had 5 passes defensed. And they had those 2 interceptions that turned into touchdowns, one from Steven Nelson, the other from Christian Harris. And Christian Harris had the nerve to go. He had the nerve to get what's going on, Crazy Juice. He had the nerve to take the pick 6 to the house and then turn around and then sack this fool right after they get back on the field. Like, he was acting a damn fool. It was the craziest thing in the world, man. So when you take a look at it, and you see all of these things, you know what I mean? that just tells you that the Texans dominated this game every which way. They just destroyed them, man. And I nobody anticipated this. I don't think a lot of people saw this coming. I'm pretty sure most of the sportscasters wound up having this become a situation where they were picking the Browns just with the defense and the resurgence of Flacco for that period of time. Things were looking good. They were looking up. But now, what do you have? You don't have anything there. There's nothing left. I can tell you right now, if Flacco wanted to play himself into a starting job, he didn't do it. He didn't do it at all. He actually wound up screwing himself out of a starting job. And one thing I'll give him is he proved he could be a good backup. So he'll keep a job in the NFL strictly for that. The performance he had late into the year, and then the actual performance that he put out there in the playoffs just basically tells you, hey, this dude can get us to the playoffs, but we need our real starter to take us all the way home. And that's basically what it is, man. It's unfortunate, but it kind of happens like that. So things were definitely great, man. I love every situation that we were, that the Texans were in out there. I know I made some mention of the rappers and whatnot, but it looks like Houston is a city where they come from. So run, run. And I know people won't like that because that's a little shot at Bone Thugs and Harmony and being from Cleveland. And then, what I'm saying, we got Houston and whatnot. Hey, man, shit. I'm telling you, that Mexican LT, everybody out there, they chilling, they having a good time, man. They out there, they playing Johnny Dang. They're playing Barrio. They're playing everything, man, and it's great. Sorry about this noise. It's a little what's the name out here? Give me just a sec, y'all. Sorry about that, y'all. Get landscapers out here doing shit early in the fucking morning, so I'm trying to get these videos in, and they over here making noise. But either way, shout out to the Houston Texans. They did a fantastic job. There was nothing wrong with what they did. They were very smart, cold, calculated, and for them to be a first half team on offense and a defensive team, in the second half, it worked out well. There's nothing you can tell them. You know what I mean? And it just makes more sense because it frustrates you. It frustrates you to no avail as an offense when you can't get anything going, but your defense is doing their job. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm going to say this. The Cleveland Browns defense did what they could. They did what they could. But one thing I can tell you is, and a lot of people don't understand this, is when your offense ain't doing much, it's hard for you to keep up. It's really hard to go out game in, game out, week in, week out if your offense ain't putting up points and get out there and really try. It's frustrating because you're like, man, I'm going out here every game, giving it all I got, doing everything I can. And the next thing you know, I don't get shit for it. I always wind up stuck like Chuck. And that ain't going to work for me. So, I understand the situation, but hey, the Houston Texans figured it out. They stomped them all over the place in the first half. They let the defense do their thing in the second half. In the third quarter, they scored an extra one just for good measure in the fourth quarter to make sure that this game was completely out of reach. And Cleveland had no answer for it. The second half, Cleveland just fell apart. There was nothing that they could do. They did everything they could on defense, but offensively, it was just bad. And I'm telling you right now, those 2 pick sixes destroyed it for them. And then for Joe Flacco, that's got to kill your confidence. Back-to-back pick sixes? Like, man, that's horrible. That is a hard sell. But one thing that I have to say is the Texans defense is real. You better be afraid of it because they come through and they play. You know what I'm saying? Do not let it fool you. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm just looking at the Texans defense right here. You have 4 sacks, 11 tackles for a loss, 5 passes defense, and 2 interceptions that were 2 pick sixes. That is a damn good defensive game. I don't care what nobody says. Your ass is grass when you wind up doing some shit like that. Like, it is not a game. That tells you that the Texas defense is not fucking around. Now I know you've seen the numbers from the Browns defense and whatnot, but it sucks. It's a hard sell, man. You know, you can't really do much when your guys out there the whole time. So both punters had 4 punts. Corey Bojorquez, 4 for 176. He averaged 44 yards a punt. And then Cameron Johnson, 4 for 184. He averaged 46 yards a punt. He got three out of his 4 inside the 20, whereas Corey, he only got 1 inside the 20. So it just situations just definitely didn't work out, you know, for the Cleveland Browns. And it sucks because they were on such a great trajectory. They had a great season and everything looked to be working out perfectly fine for them. There were no issues, no implications that there would be any problems. Coming into the game, it seemed like everything was just headed in the right direction. And then when the game started, man, that first half looked competitive. That second half was a whole nother world. Cleveland's offense disappeared, and their defense just was like, "Hey, man, we're doing what we can, but y'all got to help us in some goddamn way." And it's cool when your defense scores because that gives you the momentum. And as an offense, you want to go out there. Now you want to score. It becomes a competitive thing on the sideline of, "Hey, we just put up some points. Can you do it?" And it's fun. It's not like a negative competitive. It's like, y'all put up some points. That's cute, but that's what our job is. That's what we do. So I'm gonna go out there and put up some points too. And then when I come back to the sideline, I'm gonna look at you and go, do it again. I just did it. We won for one. You know what I mean? And it's not a negative thing to have that kind of competition on the sideline. But what I can tell you is, you know, it's very frustrating for the Browns because they would have hoped Deshaun would have been able to play. Of course, the storylines would have been a lot bigger, you know, and Deshaun has taken the Texans to the playoffs and done some things for them, you know, but this is a whole different Texans team built up of a bunch of people that nobody knows about. And they're coming out here saying we're making a name for ourselves. Once again, Nico Collins, you got to start putting some respect on that dude's name. He is a top receiver in this league. That dude is at least top 10, if not top 15. Nico Collins went out and balled yesterday, people, and you got to respect a young man. That dude did exactly what he was supposed to do when he was called on. That man had 6 catches for 96 yards and a TD. He averaged 16 yards a catch, and that's all you need. And I'm sorry, like that's just what you got to look at it, man. You know, I know that David Njoku was doing his thing over there for the Cleveland Browns, but you still, I mean, Amari Cooper was a non-factor. And he usually is a factor, you know. So Kareem Hunt, you know, Jerome Ford, these dudes were not fat. They were non-factors. They really were. I mean, Kareem Hunt had the TD, but 8 carries for 26 yards. Jerome Ford, 9 carries for 17 yards. That man averaged 1.9 yards a carry. And before, when I gave y'all a preview show about the Browns, that was one of the dudes who was the bright spot for the season. And he was just non-existent in this game. Nowhere to be found. And that sucks. You know what I mean? That just tells you, though, once again, the Texans defense is not some team to be overlooked. If anybody in there is in the AFC and y'all are looking at the rest of these playoffs, let me explain something to you. You better respect these Texans. They are not fucking around. They didn't come in here to get put out in the first round, and they definitely didn't come in here to lose shit. They came in to win, and that's what they wanted. Now, nice that they had, you know, that they were in the Texans Stadium, they were in the dome, and they ain't had to deal with the weather for Cleveland because Cleveland plays outside in those frigid cold temperatures. You know what I mean? Back east is getting destroyed. If y'all ain't seen the videos for Buffalo, Jesus Christ, they had to call in volunteers just to get that stadium somewhat ready, because yesterday they literally postponed the game to today because the snowstorm is out of fucking control. And then you see a stupid motherfucker of that's supposed to be helping to get the stadium ready. This nigga gonna jump into the chute for the snow and slide down with no shirt off. Sir, are you trying to die? And fuck around and get hypothermia? I'm just saying, man. Look, I don't deal with the cold. You know, I'm a quote a line from Menace to Society. It's very simple. You know, we're tropical people. Let them Europeans deal with this madness. this. You know what I mean? And it ain't no disrespect to nobody, man. It's just a quote from a movie, man. If you don't know Menace to Society, you missed out on a fantastic movie. You need to watch it several times over. That's one of my favorite movies of all time. But hey, man, that's all I got on this game. I'm gonna come right back and we'll talk about we'll get to the NFC after this is over. But shout out to the Houston Texans, man. They out there chilling. Louis Vuitton umbrella when I walk through the rain in the kitchen whipping chicken kind of bread like Kane. Big dog got a Mexican like Johnny Dad. Need deep money, water stick, carry my K. Right pocket got money, left pocket cocaine, bulletproof fight Cadillac riding in the tank. Look, man, Houston out there having a ball. Shout out Bun B, shout out Trill Burgers. It's fantastic that these dudes are out there having a great time, you know what I'm saying? And I know Bun B is from Port Arthur, he's from PA, but still, they rep Houston. They rep Houston to the fullest. You got to remember different places will have different cities and they'll have different, they always will have, different counties, little cities, and, but wrapped up in one. Like Los Angeles is a very, very huge county, but it houses a lot of different cities. So same way when you go down in Texas, Houston is big. It's they've expanded and they've got a bunch of cities out there with a lot of different things, man. But that's all I got for you on this Texans game, man. Once again, congratulations to the Texans. I'm very happy for them. And hopefully they'll continue to get shit right and keep on going, man. And then basically we'll be back probably in a couple of days with a few more looks at some playoff pictures and things of that nature. But for right now, we just doing what we're doing, man. So we're going to move on. Once again, happy for the Texans, happy for the Texans fans, for the city of Houston. You know what I'm saying? Stand up. They did their thing, baby. And then we're going to jump right on into this other game over here, man. I predicted this game would go the way it went, and I figured it would, and that was the Chiefs versus the Dolphins. And what did I think would happen? They would go into Arrowhead and lose, and that's exactly what happened. You know what I'm saying? Tyreek Hill, non-factor. Lots of people are non-factors, but let me just start off with the quarterback, man. So Tua Tagovailoa, 20 out of 39, 199 yards, 1 TD, 1 interception, was sacked twice. This man had a 15.8 QBR and a quarterback rating of 63.9. And you flip on over to Patrick Mahomes. He wasn't overly spectacular, people. He was 23 of 41, 262 yards, 6.4 yards a catch. 6.4 yards per throw. He only had 1 TD. He had a QBR of 88.3, which is ridiculously better than 15.8. And he had a quarterback rating of 83.6. So wasn't nothing too crazy. Isaiah Pacheco did all right. 24 carries, 89 yards, 3.7 yards per carry. And he also had 1 TD. Patrick Mahomes, 2 carries, 41 yards. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 7 carries for 21 yards. One thing I'll give Edwards-Helaire is he fought for a lot of his yardage. Like, that man was fighting and bullying any and everybody he could to get his yardage, man. I give him a lot of credit. You know what I'm saying? Edwards-Helaire was not fucking around. Even though Isaiah Pacheco is the starter and that's the guy, still, it was flat out crazy, man. So these things were, going down. When you look at the rushing, Mostert, 8 carries, 33 yards. He was averaging 4.1 yards per carry. Tua had 3 for 25. They were held to 76 yards in total rushing. And then rushing for the Kansas City Chiefs, 147 in total, with Pacheco's 89, Mahomes 41, and then 21 from Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Then you flip over to the receiving. Tyreek Hill, 5 catches on 8 targets for 62 yards and a TD. And he had a very Tyreek Hill-esque catch where he wound up in a situation where that's what he was doing. He basically, that ball was up in the air. He used exactly what he normally uses, his ridiculous body control, and he went and got it. Reek, he's not that far removed from playing in Kansas City. Where he doesn't know how to move in that that area and in that way, man, because there were some super cold temperatures, flat out insane. So I'll give him that. But what I can say is, man, it was crazy strictly based on the fact that these dudes were playing in some seriously cold temperature. Like it was ridiculous. The first couple of throws were drops. You know what I'm saying? And that's something that the Kansas City Chiefs have been dealing with, have been struggling with this year, man. Just drops from receivers left and right, and Travis Kelce was included in that. And then they finally started to get into a little bit of a rhythm and start getting the ball game going. This was a gradual progression when it comes to the Kansas City Chiefs. As you can see, they scored in every quarter, whereas Miami, they scored in the second and never scored again. They just couldn't get their offense going in any way, shape, or form. Outside of that TD pass to Tyreek Hill, there was nothing. And I'm sorry, I have to put this game on Tua. Tua's just, there's something that just don't work with him, man. Like he has those moments where you're like, okay, yeah, it's that's the dude, this is the guy. And then he has those moments where I don't know if this is the guy or not. I'm not 100% sure if I'm sold on him. One thing that I did see, a lot of calculated steps, I will say. And that's because people don't want to bust their ass on that damn frigid field, because running on that is almost like running on ice to an extent. That field is almost frozen. Now, it didn't snow, but believe me, I think they said it was about -6, almost, and the game forecast was, I believe, about -12. So it's definitely a rough go when you're trying to do that and, playing those temperatures and then be able to keep yourself up, getting tackled when you hit the ground. Everything's got to be painful after that game, man, because you're just out there. No matter how much you get your blood flowing, that shit, it hurts like a motherfucker when you continue to hit the ground and it's rock solid. Like that's a different situation. So, once again, Cedric Wilson Jr., 3 for 37. River Craycraft, 2 for 33. Jalen Waddle, 2 for 31. Like, these are the things that I'm talking about, people. Like, Achane, he had 3 catches for 21 yards. He wasn't really a factor in the run game, 6 carries for 9 yards. Like that, this is, they got a two-headed monster in Achane and Mostert that barely even used either one of them, man. Like they wound up getting behind, so they had to keep passing, but 39 passes to 18 runs, it doesn't bode well. The reason being is because that says one of two things. You're either too far behind, so you have to throw the ball and continue to count on Tua, or your game plan didn't work out and you didn't get the proper balance, because this is the Kyle Shanahan type offense that they're running. And I know that because Mike McDaniels is a disciple of Kyle Shanahan, and another young man that has come from that Kyle Shanahan tree has gotten himself a head coaching job and is doing very well for himself. But the thing is to run a Kyle Shanahan offense is to be balanced. And when you're 40 throws to 18 runs, you're never going to win those kinds of games. It's extremely rare that that's going to happen. And Tua isn't that guy. Like I said, 1 TD, 1 interception, 2 sacks, 15.8 QBR. Like that's really, really bad, man. And then when you come over and you look at Kansas City again, Patrick Mahomes didn't do anything to wow or make anything spectacular. It was very simple. Hey, 23 or 41, 262 yards, 1 TD, didn't take a sack, and just kept rolling. The run game, provided a touchdown as well. And Rasheed Rice came out there, showed what he could do. He had 8 catches on 12 targets for 130 yards in the TD. Travis Kelce, 7 out of 10 for 771 yards. Noah Gray, 1 for 20. Justin Watson, 2 for 20. And then after that, you don't see much. So the guy that really made the impact for Kansas City was Rasheed Rice, and then he had several fumbles. And Isaiah Pacheco lost one, but he recovered his. Creed Humphrey had a fumble, and then you had Clyde Edwards there. He lost one. You switch over to the defensive side of the ball. Once again, Miami had no sacks. They had 4 tackles for a loss, 3 passes defense, which is all right. But, Duke Riley's your leading tackler. Deshaun Elliott's your next guy up with 9. Brandon Jones at 8. Cater Kohu with 7. David Long Jr. with 7 as well. Then you flip to the other side of the ball and look at the Kansas City Chiefs. And once again, they only had 2 sacks. And, Karlaftis was in on both of those. And then you had Chris Jones in on one of them. Bolton was leading tackler with 10 tackles. Karlaftis right behind him. Then you got a couple other dudes here and there. You got those 6 passes defense. Trent McDuffie was doing his thing. Mike Edwards had one. Willie Gay had another. It worked out well, and that's the key. L'Jarius Sneed had 2 as well. So it just shows you that Kansas City defense came to play, and Miami just came to hang out and kick it or something. Like they just wanted to go and see what Kansas City was like because they just didn't do anything. They had no hope, you know what I mean? And Miami was a really good team throughout the year, and everybody expected them to do a lot. Give me just a second, y'all. All right. All right, y'all. Sorry about that. Got to make these people coming in. Stuff happens. You got to make sure you get them in and let them do what they got to do on that thing. So definitely, at the end of the day, man, Kansas City came to play. They came to do exactly what they were supposed to do. They came to figure things out and get it right. And hey, once again, I bet on Kansas City because, once again, Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs, that's definitely something that just consistently happens. Yeah. But all right, y'all, man. Look, I gotta get up out of here. I got this maintenance thing going, so we got to do some different stuff. But do appreciate y'all for hanging out with your boy. Once again, man, thank y'all for tuning in Niner Gang Podcast. Kansas City wins 26-7. The Houston Texans go in there and beat the brakes off of the Cleveland Browns. It was a great, great weekend of football. We still got more to come. I'll be back with more videos, but I will say this. Kansas City does what they do. Patrick Mahomes continually makes shit happen. And at the end of the day, man, have fun. Continue to watch more football. We got 2 more games today. I'll have some more previews for you guys, and we'll get things rolling at the end. And I'll have some more game simulations before they come on, too. We'll see if we can keep them spot on and keep the winners going in the right direction. At the end of the day, stay up, stay faithful, stay blessed. Everybody love your teams, watch your teams, support your teams, win or lose. And we out this bitch. Peace.